What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Going to talk a little bit more welterweight division. A couple good articles came out this morning I really enjoyed reading, so I thought I would share them with you and ask for you specifically to give your thoughts on the second one in the comments section for people that listen to the videos on a regular basis. Before I say that, please, both of the articles that I'm going to talk about are going to be, I've tweeted them on my Twitter account. I'm trying to get followers over there so that I can tweet and let people know ahead of time what articles that I'm going to be talking about. Also, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you wouldn't mind so that we can have more people come to the live streams. I think we have real good conversations. I actually get a chance to interact with subscribers when you come there. So the best way to know that those are coming up is by hitting the bell icon, and you can get a notification when that happens. Now, that said, let me get to the conversations. The first one is Shawn Porter, Showtime Shawn Porter, says that he thinks that Keith Thurman is better than Errol Spence Jr. right now. And I think that he means, but what he talks about is he thinks that Keith Thurman would beat Errol Spence right now. Now, I'm going to tell you the article, read the article, go through the article with you, then I'll come back and comment on it. But then also, the second one is a very interesting article that came out of Boxing Scene today, where they actually, a writer named Hale, man, I don't want to even kill his first name, Andreas, Hale. Hale writes for Boxing Scene. I've read other articles from him. He really does a good job, and he wrote an article on how to fix the 147-pound logjam of talent with the tournament, similar to the World Boxing Super Series and such. And then he lays out his ideas for two brackets. And I'm going to make a slight change to his bracket because I think one thing is unfair. But then I want to go through the matchups that he says, and I think at the end of the day, who wins that tournament, that hypothetical tournament. But first, Boxing Clever comes out. Porter, I think right now Thurman is better than Errol Spence. Top welterweight contender Shawn Porter believes WBA, WBC welterweight champion Keith Thurman, 28-0 with 22 KOs, at least at this moment, is a better fighter than IBF champion Errol Spence, 23-0 with 20 KOs. Porter has gone 12 rounds with Thurman, and he is very familiar with Spence. At the moment, Porter is the mandatory challenger to Thurman's WBC title. Thurman won a close 12-round unanimous decision over Porter in June of 2016. Thurman is scheduled to make a voluntary defense against an opponent to be determined on May 19th in Brooklyn, while Spence is also without an opponent for his own return on June 16th in Dallas, Texas. Thurman and Spence is one of the most anticipated fights in the division. From what Porter sees at the moment, he gives Thurman the edge. Right now, I think Keith Thurman is better than Spence. I think he has a way of getting fighters to fight his fight. I think that Errol does the same, but I think Errol is more tactical at doing that. Keith Thurman is that guy that you get in the ring with, and no matter how many times you tell him to come or how many times you come at him, he's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to get you to do that. I think he did a really good job of trying to fight. I think I did a really good job of trying to fight my fight, Porter told Kevin Iole of Yahoo Sports. I think Errol Spence has the ability to be aggressive, uses his jab, and makes you throw the punches that he wants you to throw. But I just have a feeling that Keith Thurman is just a little bit better at doing that than Errol Spence. And what would be the difference maker in that fight is that Keith Thurman is so unorthodox. Where Errol Spence, he has that southpaw style, but he's very technically sound. But against someone who is so unorthodox like Keith Thurman, with all those unpredictable moves and throws all of those unpredictable punches at you at points in the fight, will make it very hard for anyone that gets in the ring with him. Now, I think that was a pretty good analysis by Shawn Showtime Porter. I'm not quite sure if I agree, but I think that that's a very solid point. That's a very solid point. Keith Thurman is very awkward. He can do multiple things in the ring. He can slug with you if he wants to. He can move, right? He can fight from the out. He can fight from the outside. So, I'm not going to say that the cat's wrong. I definitely want to see. The thing for me is that I want to actually see the fight and to see it turn out that way so we can see who the better man is. Now, I do think that as far as what Shawn Porter is saying and why he would have that take, I think that that's kind of a that's a little bit convenient. It's a little bit of a convenient argument, or it might be a convenient argument, in that Shawn Porter, we know, wants to fight Keith Thurman. He's not calling out. He's not the mandatory for Errol Spence, and he's had a lot of pressure on him as well about why he won't fight Errol Spence, or why he's not calling out Errol Spence, or why, if he's having such a hard time waiting around for Keith Thurman, why he doesn't go and try to fight Errol Spence Jr. I know that his father and manager had stated that they didn't call him, that he never got that call. But hey, man, you can make a call. Phone works both ways. Pick up the phone and call them. Hey, if they didn't call you, call them. I don't think he said that he called them and they said no. He said that Errol Spence said everybody got the call, but Kenny Porter said, I didn't get the call. I have no reason to doubt Kenny Porter. Kenny Porter is an honest guy from everything that I've seen. I have always said that I respect Kenny Porter. I love the dude's attitude. I like Shawn Porter's attitude. I've never been a fan of Shawn Porter's style, but hey, man, that's his style, and it's been extremely effective for him, and I can't deny that. However, the phone works both ways. You know what I mean? There's buttons on your phone. There's buttons on their phone. You can call and make it hot. But that aside, saying that Keith Thurman is the better fighter, with people are saying, hey, man, why don't you get in with Errol Spence? And also, so that's one reason why I think he might be leaning towards that, and it might be a bit of a convenient argument. The other side of the convenient argument is that he lost to Keith Thurman. So I don't think that it's in his self-interest to say, hey, Errol Spence, I think Errol Spence is better than the guy that beat me. Because wouldn't that make it very questionable about whether or not Errol Spence he thinks he can beat Errol Spence? And if he did say that Errol Spence was better than Keith Thurman, then it's really, the question is compounded. Why don't you want to fight Errol Spence? Why do you want to fight a guy that you think is an easier touch? So while I've always said, and I still maintain, that I don't know who would win in a boxing match between Errol Spence and Keith Thurman. I don't know who would win between Errol Spence and Shawn Porter. I believe that I have an opinion about who would win that fight, but I don't know. But what I do know is what happened in a fight with Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter. Keith Thurman won. I know for certain what happened with Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia. Keith Thurman won. So I don't need to see those again. Not anytime, not right away. I want to see the bout that I don't know the outcome of. And that is any of those guys versus Errol Spence Jr. I'm not out knocking on the door or making videos saying, hey, Kell Brook, why don't you fight Errol Spence Jr.? I want to see Kell Brook versus Errol Spence Jr. I've already seen it. I know what happens with that. Errol Spence stops him and breaks his eyeball. In the story. I want to see now Keith Thurman. Hey, Keith, what's going to happen with Keith Thurman and Errol Spence? Or what's going to happen with Jeff Horn and Keith Thurman? Or Jeff Horn and Danny Garcia? Or Jeff Horn and Shawn Porter? Those are the things that I'd like to see to get some questions answered about who the best welterweight is. And while I definitely respect the opinion of of Shawn Porter talking about what will happen inside the ring, he's the boxer. I'm not the boxer, right? I've never got punched in the face by Keith Thurman, and I've never sparred Errol Spence Jr. And I'm pretty sure he must have sparred Errol Spence Jr. at a point in time, because the father, Kenny Porter, is the guy that took Errol Spence Jr. to spar Floyd Mayweather Jr. So I've never heard that Shawn Porter and Errol Spence Jr. have sparred, but I have to believe that they mixed it up at some point in time. At least they trained together. They did something. There's some degree of familiarity between the two of those guys, and it's actually implied in the in this article where Kevin Iole says that Shawn Porter is very familiar with Errol Spence. So anyway, so that's the take on that one. In the short of it is, hey, I appreciate the insight, and I think everything that he said is true. And he's not saying it's Shawn Porter's not saying it's a blowout in favor of Keith Thurman. But I do think that it's a convenient argument because it goes right along with the plan that he has and what Shawn Porter, wants to do. Now, that leads into the conversation I wanted to have about this other article, which was how to fix the logjam of talent with a tournament. Now, I did a live stream just last evening. It's up, so if you guys want to check it out. Where I talked about, and I came about the welterweight division, talked about the welterweight division in a way where I'm not going to blast. I didn't want to blast on any particular guy because I do believe that the welterweight division is super stacked. And you have a lot of very, very solid fighters, guys who were at one point in time in their career either the man, or on their way to be, considered that they were the up-and-coming star. And all of these guys have significant, most of these guys have significant accomplishments in their career. And right now it's just, we're at a point where that's why having this picture is like the diva division. It's like everybody thinks that they're a star and everybody thinks that they're the brightest star, or that if they get Keith Thurman, then all of a sudden that will solidify them. But the fact of the matter is that although Keith Thurman, at least not the fact of the matter, my viewpoint on the matter is that although Keith Thurman with the two belts should rightfully be considered the top welterweight, it's not. I mean, it's by the hair of his chinny chin chin, man. It's by the hair of his chinny chin chin. And the best way to sort it out is for everybody to fight. But whoever would be able to come out of that might be the man in boxing. It really might be a situation where just having beaten that many good fighters, that there's not much argument that could be made for the fact that guy is the man in boxing. And then allow them to move up, because really, Canelo Alvarez, who's the cash cow in boxing right now, is only really a 154-pounder. He's not a big 160-pounder. And so say if Keith Thurman could make it through a tournament, or Errol Spence Jr. could make it through a tournament like that, then that might be a situation where these cats could really become stars. And considering a guy that's going to be in this bracket that I'm going to mention, it might be enough for just these guys that they might be able to become pay-per-view stars, or just mega, have an incredible fan base to set themselves up to become one just by winning this tournament. So the first round matchups that Mr. Hale, I'm going to just call him Mr. Hale, check out is like I said on my Twitter, I've got that. I tweeted out the article, check it out. It's also, you can go to boxingscene.com, and it's right there on the top page if you feel like doing it that way. Bracket A that he says is, 1 is Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Bronner. 2 is Terrence Crawford versus Lucas Matisse. Third bout is Mikey Garcia versus Kell Brook. And the winner of Mikey Garcia versus Kell Brook would then move up and fight Jeff Horn. Then bracket B, he has, I'm changing this though, he has Errol Spence versus Vargas, Shawn Porter versus Danny Garcia, Omar Figueroa versus Peterson, Lamont Peterson. And then the winner of that, of Omar Figueroa and Peterson, would face Thurman. I suppose that the winner of Bronner and Matisse would fight one another. And the winner of Pacquiao Bronner and Matisse Crawford would fight each other. Let me cut to the end of that. That's all Crawford. Okay, so Manny Pacquiao, versus Adrian Bronner. Hey man, I give it to Manny Pacquiao. And then you have Lucas Matisse versus Terrence Crawford. I would put that as I definitely think that that's Terrence Crawford. And then you have Mikey Garcia versus Kell Brook. And the winner, that's why I'm switching this out. It's not the winner's not going to face Horn. The winner's going to face Errol Spence Jr. because Errol Spence Jr. is going to get that bye before Horn gets it. The guy in the article gave the bye to Horn because he said he wanted to see Errol Spence have an extra fight. I can appreciate the sentiment, dog, but that's not right. Jeff Horn ain't the guy. It's Errol Spence. So you can't put him as the number 2 seed, man. Can't give him the number 2 seed. So you have the winner of Mikey Garcia and Kell Brook. Oh my God, man. I think I would give that over. I think I'd give Kell Brook that. I don't think Mikey Garcia is going to fight Kell Brook. So in a shocker, Mikey Garcia is gone in the first round. And the winner would face Errol Spence. And so Horn versus Vargas, I would take Jeff Horn. I take Jeff Horn, man. That's crazy, huh? Jeff Horn, Vargas, that's a 50-50 fight. Shawn Porter versus Danny Garcia. I take Danny Garcia. So then you have Omar Figueroa and Lamont Peterson. I take Omar Figueroa. So then after that, the second round would be Pacquiao versus Crawford. Pacquiao versus Crawford, without a doubt, I take Crawford. Mikey Garcia versus Kell Brook versus Errol Spence Jr. We get version number 2. We get version number 2, Errol Spence Jr. And then in the bracket, in the second round of the next bracket, you have Jeff Horn versus Danny Garcia. Yeah, I think I might go with Danny Garcia. And then you have Omar Figueroa versus Keith Thurman. I got Keith Thurman. So then you wind up with your finals, your semifinals, which would be Errol Spence Jr. See, this is where it gets hot. And you got to say, if they could do this, it would be just bananas. You would have Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford. And in the bracket B, you have Danny Garcia facing Keith Thurman, which is fair because Keith Thurman's the number 1 dude, and so he should have the easier route to the final. I got Errol Spence Jr. and I got Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford coming out of draw. Coming out of a shaky draw, dog. So they got to refight that. It throws the whole bracket off. No, I'm serious. I'm just kidding. I take Errol Spence. I take Errol Spence over Terrence Crawford. And then I have Terrence Crawford and I have Keith Thurman losing to Danny Garcia in the rematch. And then I got Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. by bloody stoppage. And Errol Spence Jr. wins my tournament. So that's my brackets, dog. Check out this dude's article. Do your own bracket, man. But you got to admit that would be absolutely, absolutely exciting. I have Errol Spence Jr. winning I have Errol Spence Jr. winning the title because he was good, because he was just too big and strong for Terrence Crawford. And if you run the tournament, if you run that fight again, yeah, you could have Terrence Crawford over there with Errol Spence. But anyway, you go, man. That's why I think that World Boxing Super Series is so exciting. It's just too bad that I'm wondering whether George Groves is going to be able to make it and fight Callium Smith in the final. And there's actually a good Callium Smith versus whoever. Oh, that's the Jorgensen. That's what I was upset about. The fact that Jorgen Brammer got injured, so he won't be able to fight Callium Smith today. But, that was a very, very good tournament over the 68 pounds. Of course, we know the 160-pound World Boxing Super Series. That is what really lifted off Andre Ward. I think this cruiserweight title is going to get Alexander Usyk into the top 10 pound for pound guys in the world. If he shouldn't already be there, he should definitely be there. Alexander Usyk should definitely be there before Sergey Kovalev. So, we'll see what happens, man. But Definitely check out those articles, and in the description box, let me know what you think, man. If you had the brackets that I laid out, and I didn't go through the problems and doing all the graphics for it and laying out, laying out who was gonna, so you could see it in a graphic. I'm just, I'm sorry, man. I'm getting up in the morning, having a cup of coffee, just talking boxing. But I tried to make it as clear as possible. If you want to see the article, go to boxingscene.com or hit the Twitter. If you have a Twitter account, hit the Twitter account. At the bottom of the, at the description box in this video, and then you should be able to see it on my Twitter on my Twitter feed. I'm gonna try to just push. I'm pushing articles and different type of things that I want to talk about outside the channel onto Twitter. I'm not together with the Instagram yet, man. I got to you got to crawl before you walk. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, man. So thank you very much. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. We're probably gonna do a live stream today about the World Boxing Super Series, and I'm out. Peace.